There's something uniquely vulnerable about childhood, a time when the boundary between imagination and reality hasn't quite solidified yet. When the shadows in the corner of your room could be anything. Parents tell us these fears are normal, that every child is afraid of the dark, that monsters aren't real. But what happens when the fear doesn't fade with the morning light? What happens when a child's bedroom becomes something more than just a place where nightmares visit? Tonight I want to tell you about a room. Just an ordinary child's bedroom in a suburban home in Pennsylvania. But for the family who lived there, this room became the center of a mystery that would challenge everything they thought they knew about their home, their daughter, and the nature of the spaces we trust most. The family moved into the house in the spring of 2009. We'll call them the Mitchells. David and Sarah Mitchell had just welcomed their second child, and their growing family needed more space. The house was perfect. Built in the 1980s, well-maintained, in a quiet neighborhood where kids rode bikes and neighbors waved from their porches. The kind of place where nothing bad was supposed to happen. Their daughter Emma was 6 years old when they moved in. She was a bright, imaginative kid who loved drawing and telling elaborate stories. She'd always been a good sleeper. Her new room was on the second floor, painted a soft lavender at her request, with white furniture and a window that looked out over the backyard. Sarah spent days making it perfect. New curtains, a cozy reading nook, glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. It was everything a little girl could want. For the first month, everything was normal. Emma loved her new room. But then something changed. It started with Emma refusing to sleep alone. She would make it until bedtime, but the moment the lights went out and her parents left, she would appear at their bedroom door within minutes. She wasn't crying or panicking. She would just stand there and say quietly, "I don't want to sleep in there." When they asked why, she couldn't explain it. She just said the room felt different at night, that it didn't feel like her room anymore. David and Sarah did what any parents would do. They checked for monsters under the bed and in the closet. They left a nightlight on. Eventually, exhausted, they set up a sleeping bag in their bedroom, and Emma began sleeping on their floor. They were certain she would grow out of it, a soft rhythmic thumping, like something bouncing. Sarah worked from home, and during the day when Emma was at school she would go into her daughter's room to tidy up. She started to feel it too, a distinct sense of unease. The room felt heavier, colder. She found herself hurrying through her tasks, eager to leave. Then came the night that changed everything. David had stayed late at work and Sarah was home alone with both kids. Emma was asleep on the floor of the master bedroom when Sarah heard it. A sound coming from upstairs, from Emma's room. She walked upstairs and confirmed Emma was sound asleep. The sound continued. Bounce, 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 steady and deliberate. She pushed open the door and the sound stopped instantly. The room was empty, completely still. But Sarah knew what she'd heard. 3 nights later, David had his own experience. He'd gotten up around 2 a.m. and passed Emma's room. He saw light coming from under the door, a flickering, moving light like someone was inside with a flashlight. Thinking Emma had woken up, he opened the door to check on her. The room was dark, completely dark, no light at all. And when he went back to his bedroom, Emma was still sound asleep on the floor. But on the 4th night, at 3:47 a.m., the camera picked up something that made them both feel sick with fear. Sarah started hearing footsteps in Emma's room during the day. Objects began to move. A stuffed animal that had been on the bed would be on the floor. Books that were stacked neatly would be scattered. The closet door would be standing open when Sarah was certain she'd closed it. David started documenting everything. He set up a baby monitor with a camera in Emma's room. For the first few nights, nothing appeared on the footage. The rocking chair in the corner began to rock, back and forth, slowly and steadily, as if someone was sitting in it. The movement continued for almost 3 minutes before it gradually came to a stop. If you're finding this story as unsettling as I am, you're exactly the kind of person who belongs here at Whispers Beyond. We dive deep into stories like this, stories that don't have easy answers. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Emma had become adamant that she would never sleep in that room again. When pressed for details, she finally opened up. She said that when she was alone in her room at night, she could feel someone watching her. She would see movement in the shadows. And sometimes, she said, she would hear whispering. soft voices that she couldn't quite make out. The whispers would stop the moment she turned on a light or called for her parents. Sarah and David decided to swap rooms with Emma. They would take the bedroom, and Emma would move into the master. The move happened on a Saturday, and for the first week it seemed to work. Emma slept soundly, but on the 8th night, Sarah woke up at 3 a.m. to a sound she would never forget. It was a child's laughter, clear and bright, coming from somewhere inside the room with them. The laughter seemed to move around the room, circling them. It wasn't Emma. This was different. Lighter, stranger, with an echo to it that made it sound not quite real. David turned on every light. The laughter stopped. And in that moment, they realized something terrifying. Whatever was in that room, it wasn't tied to the physical space. It was something that had attached itself to that part of the house. They made a decision. They would seal off that room. David installed a lock on the outside of the door. For 2 months, the room stayed closed and things were quiet. They began to wonder if maybe the entity had simply moved on. But they were wrong. David was awakened one night by the distinct click of a doorknob turning. The door to the sealed room was standing wide open. The lock was still engaged. The door had opened from the inside, and from within that dark room he could hear it. The bouncing ball. Bounce. 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 David pulled the door closed and had a deadbolt installed the next day. But 3 nights later, Sarah found the door standing open again. The deadbolt was still locked, the keys were in David's pocket, but the door was open. And this time there was something new. On the floor of the empty room there was a drawing. A child's drawing done in crayon. It showed a house with windows and a door, and in one of the upstairs windows there was a figure. A small figure with long dark hair, waving. Neither Sarah nor David had drawn it. Emma swore she hadn't been in that room. The drawing was fresh. Someone or something had created it and left it there like a message. Sarah contacted a paranormal investigation team, and they agreed to come to the house. They spent the entire night investigating, and on their audio recordings there were voices. Faint, but definitely there. One phrase came through clearly. My room. 2 words, spoken by what sounded like a child's voice. The team told the Mitchells that the room was being occupied by what they called an intelligent haunting. Something that was aware of them. Something that reacted to their presence. The lead investigator suggested that it might be the spirit of a child, and that closing off the room may have agitated it. But the house had no tragic history. No children had died there. Sometimes, the investigator said, we simply don't know why a place becomes haunted. The Mitchells decided to move. They put the house on the market and moved in with Sarah's parents while they waited for it to sell. It took 8 months, but eventually a young couple bought the house. David thought about warning them, but he didn't. He told himself that maybe it wouldn't happen to them. He knew it was cowardly, but he was desperate to be free of that place. I've thought a lot about this story since Sarah shared it with me. The question that haunts me most is the drawing. That simple crayon picture of a house with a figure in the window, waving. Was it a message? A plea? Or was it something darker? The Mitchells never found out what happened to the couple who bought their house. They never looked back. But sometimes late at night Sarah still hears it. The sound of a ball bouncing. And she knows that somewhere in her memory, in that sealed room of her mind, that presence is still there. Still waiting, still watching. And that perhaps is the real horror. Not just that our homes can be haunted, but that once we've experienced something like this, we can never truly leave it behind. It becomes part of us. A shadow that follows us from house to house, room to room. The ghost we carry with us is not the one that haunted the room. It's the memory of our own helplessness. The knowledge that there are things in this world that we cannot control, cannot explain, and cannot escape. Sleep well tonight. And if you hear something in the dark, something that shouldn't be there, remember. Sometimes it's just the house settling, but sometimes it's something else entirely.